the way China work is they build and they build really quickly, and contract is always slower than the build. Okay. So making decision, it's faster than getting the contract ready, you know? So, and when you go there, as long as they align their vision, like our vision over there is not more than 5 stores. You don't need more than 5 stores. You just need to have 5 stores, do a great job, and be part of festivals. That's it. Just go to festival. It's the best way to acquire a customer, and just go online. Your job is to make sure the cloud is working. You're building an amazing platform for them to buy you anywhere in China. And the best way to do it is through festival, a couple of flagships, and that's it. And people who understand this and agree with you, they are the right partners, because then you're aligned with them.
This episode is proudly brought to you by Mapper Forward's workshop. It's time to become a coffee consultant. Learn how to diversify your revenue streams and create freedom from your day job while saying goodbye to that alarm clock forever by becoming a consultant within the coffee industry or directly to consumers who have shifted towards home brewing and home roasting. Protect your income from challenging times in the coffee value chain by taking this course today. Go to mapperforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the show notes for details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 2 of a 5-part series with Nawar Adra from Stitch Coffee, a brand that is global now. Not fully global, but it's going, but it is in Asia. I mean, how big a market is Asia compared to the potential of Asia compared to the rest of the world?
I think it's probably the biggest Asia, like maybe, I mean, Asia in general, like
the whole
all
of
the
Asia.
countries that are
It's going to be massive, right?
Guess,
like
yeah,
America's
course,
the biggest consumer of coffee at the moment, but because Asia is in its direct infancy as a coffee market, it's still not even from all the work that I've been doing with clients, it still really hasn't reached mass adoption. Coffee, I mean, right? We're still in the very infantile stages and they consume a fuck ton of coffee. So imagine what it's going to be once coffee is mainstream, the same way tea is mainstream over there.
I think, there is a mainstream commercial part of coffee culture there, but specialty is still super infancy, right?
Right.
But to answer you, it's probably the most challenging, exciting, and there's so much to learn. It's really, really fun, you know? And some part, like when, my experience is a little bit Tokyo, but I think China, I have a little bit more because I've been there many, many times. I went through a lot of festivals and all that sort of thing. What you learn from there is like, you have, for example, Donghua or Guangzhou, right? So do you have those 4 cities next to each other? You got Hong Kong, 15 minutes away from Shenzhen, 45 minutes, there's Macau. 40 minutes, there is Guangzhou, and in the middle,
when
there
you
is
say
Donghua.
Those times, flying, train, drive?
Train, because they've got the bullet trains, which is bullet trains revolutionized China. And when you start looking at them, right, start putting the numbers of people that live in that 1.5 hour proximity, you look at 95 million people,
Holy shit.
Like it is insane. Like it's crazy. And they live right next to each other and it's probably more in such a small little proximity, but they're all very different. So when I first arrived and that's the thing with China, when you talk about China, it's like, okay, which city? Hey, I'm going to China, but where are you going? Like, where you actually think your brand is going to be accepted? Where, some cities, we don't go there, like don't even dream, our coffee will never shine, just the way we roast, the way they consume it, the way they look at it. So it's very, very crucial to visit all of them or as much as you can so you can get a proper understanding of where do you want to start, and this is only China, so.
I have so many questions on that. And before we do, this episode is going to be focused on the due diligence that you should do before you not only before you go, but before you start thinking about going, right? So there's different layers of due diligence. You just mentioned something there, which is like market research, which is a part of the due diligence. How did you, first of all, how does the idea of going into China or into Asia get into your head?
I think it started with, as the good news is our brand is very close to their heart. I think the way we branded ourselves and the way we look and feel, it feels a lot more like from Japan, or then it feels like it's from Australia. So we had a really good feedback on like people loving what they're seeing, right? And then people liking the coffee bit by bit. They didn't like it straight away because the way, there's a lot of things that actually happen that out of your control, especially water. Water is a massive factor when it comes to, roasting in a country, shipping to another country, and then you have the time delays, and you have to understand, like, it's not like China don't have great roasters. Like the amount of amazing roasters that they have right now is ridiculous.
Really?
Like they're catching up, and when they do, they catch up bloody fast. Yeah. They're not slow adapters. I can tell you that they're on a mission. Oh, yeah. But you have to really kind of go in with, the biggest factor is you need to be ready to take risk. You need to understand that you need to learn to let go and give your team the operating your current operation the full trust that they can do it, because it's not easy to just leave everything and go there for 6 weeks. You will be bombarded with a lot of things, and if you think you're going to do work there for here, it's very challenging because you're...
Oh, no. I ran a company in 2 countries at the same time, and it was brutal. Elixir in Australia, Elixir in the US, it almost killed me.
It's not easy. Yeah, especially time differences. Sometimes you have to wake up, you finish late, you're meeting people. Everybody want to take you on a dinner. Everybody want to take you out. You drink like no tomorrow, it's crazy, you smoke like no tomorrow because you can smoke everywhere. It's like, it's insane, it's like, whoa, freedom. Nice. I like that. You go karaoke and stuff. It's like, oh my God, it's really, really fun.
But taking it back to that concept. So when you were cultivating the brand, and I remember us talking in the beginning, you're like, this has to take on the evolution where it can go anywhere. Like it has to be evergreen as a brand. What let you know that you had nailed the branding for Asia? Was it when you saw people responding? Because someone had put it on Red Door, right?
Red Book,
sorry.
Yeah.
Please don't come at me.
I don't know the Chinese name of that, so don't worry. Let's just call it Red Book.
Red Book. So someone had put it on Red Book. You got bombarded at the QVB in Sydney, one of your cafes, right? And people really...
we started China before QVB. Actually.
Okay,
so
tell me.
China was in the making 2 years ago, like, building the relationship with the current team over there. Sometimes you just have to have a gut feeling that this is for you. And it's silly not to, because Asia is right here and it's not far from us. And, we are mostly connected to Asia, that we are connected to Europe anyway, so having our first step to go and explore it first, that was probably the best thing we've ever done before we started. So that was
stage 1 in your due diligence? Go and look.
We were invited to be in Shanghai, our first ever festival over there in Shanghai. And it was like so big. It was like, wow, I don't know, they had 300,000 people and like...
What?
And probably...
In one
days?
expo?
4 days in the bloody park. Do you know how hard is it to work in a park?
No, I don't.
Beginning,
like, seriously, what's it like? How many days?
4 to 5 days. I think there was like, 40,000, 50,000 human goes into the gate
each day
on a daily basis. Yeah.
And crazy. You're just pumping out coffees the whole time.
I mean, you're not the only one. There's 200 other of you pumping, but
how many people on your stand?
We were only me and Namero. We were the only coffee people. The rest were not. The thing is, the team that I chose to be with in China, I didn't choose coffee people to be with. I really focused more on people who knew how logistics work, how getting things across.
This is your partner over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the partner over there, they actually also incorporated in the brand where they are our packaging manufacturer, like helping us with. So we have this really nice kind of
synergy
team where, I buy your stuff, you buy my stuff, we work together, we build it together, and we both fully funding it ourselves. It's not like there is, multi-million-dollar coming from somewhere else to fund it. Like we go to the festival, spend the time, sell the coffee, and pay back.
That's
working hand in hand. So it's more like partnership than it is. Give me the money, maybe I will show up. You can't do that. You have to be there. You have to show your face. People want to see you. People ask for your autographs. Freaking amazing. We've never had that before in our life. Like, what? You want to sign? My signatures are shit. Anyway, Namir is like a perfectionist. I'm like, Jesus. Anyway,
let's rest on this for a second. Hold on.
Yeah.
So choosing a partner is an important part of the due diligence, right? Because you're going into, and this is a mistake that I see a lot of people make when they contact me and they're like, so I want to go into America. I'm currently in Australia, or I want to come to Dubai or whatever. They just want to take their brands there and expect everybody will know who they are because they're Instagram famous. What is it? How do you approach finding a partner that's going to, or what due diligence is done in looking for that partner?
I think the main 2 points that I looked at was more into their commercial mindset rather than just, coffee mindset, because sometimes, knowing a lot about coffee doesn't mean you know about logistics. It doesn't mean you understand.
Knowledge gaps? You looked for what your knowledge gaps are?
Knowledge gaps.
Right.
Yeah. Because, anything else can be, we can always find someone who can be amazing in coffee in China, but we need to know how to get there first,
Right.
And you need a partner that is not sitting in the office and sending their staffs to work with you. You want a partner that you're together, from the morning till the evening behind the booth, trying your best and pushing. Like, you really need to test them. And the best way to test them is festival, because it's not going to cost you a lot of money. Sometimes some people offering you for free to be there, that might take a little bit of your takings. But it's a great way of doing it before you're not investing, $200,000-$400,000 into a store and then let's learn about each other, So it's an amazing way of doing it. And by doing so, you can either show them as well, like how good is the brand, because people reaction to it and you're seeing it live, so you're not just waiting for their feedback anymore, and also they're seeing you working so hard with them. So it's really important to have that relationship of hard work first, rather than how much money do you have, because money can come later conversation if you need to, because sometimes you might not need a crazy amount of money for your brand to do well. You just need 2 people to post about you. They are like super famous and suddenly you are, I know a brand that did so well last year, Meraki, which is a cafe in Sydenham. They went there with their meerkat logo, and that meerkat logo was freaking insane for this. And they were selling 2,000 cups. The amount of tote bag a day, it's that's what I mean. Like,
that's
sometimes
wild.
but
sometimes
they,
the stars just align, right?
Sometimes the stars just align out of nowhere. but the thing is you have to be ready, and that's due diligence now will come in, is like, make sure you register something before you go there. Make sure and that's the hidden cost now. Now, this is the other thing that comes,
And we'll
at an
talk about that
expensive
more in the
rate.
next episode because of the hidden costs. But let's just sit on due
Yes.
diligence for a little bit longer, because the next thing I want to ask you about is culture. And when you're choosing a partner, what role do they play in, or how do you approach making sure that they're going to be able to fill that knowledge gap in culture?
This is a very tricky one because it's very hard to kind of know everybody straight away. Like, you can't. You have to do a little bit of transaction with them. You have to do a little bit of work prior you going there. You have to make sure that they are people you can trust. And it's going to build as you go, learn how to let go as soon as possible. So don't think that this is the only person. If they are not good, just...
so fail quickly is what you mean.
Yeah. The fastest you fail, the better. And if it survives the hard time and the fight and like, why this is not done properly, why we don't have water, what happened to the electricity, what's wrong with you, I think if it survived this, that's the right partnership you want to have, because they were able to, to understand that they need to work harder to keep you, or, they need to do better, because they're driven to make sure this brand can work. And also they need to have a similar vision. They could see, okay, coffee is a big thing and I enjoy it and I love specialty coffee. I don't know anything about it, but I'm willing to learn. All right. So if they're willing to learn, they're willing to push themselves, they could show, a couple of steps forward towards what you want. You're not going to get the perfect one. It's never going to happen. Normally with people with a lot of money, they're not going to be there. They're going to send their staff. I experienced some of that in the past, or in this particular thing, but we're not, and it was like, why they're not here? Like then you start comparing two different partners that's from different countries, and like, okay, these guys, were able to put their hands in the dirt with us. The other guys, maybe not. They were in a different style and different way, a different approach. So we need to adjust as we go. So you don't know until you really work with them in a festival, because so many things goes wrong in a festival.
So what you're saying is, and you and I have very similar styles in business this way, is that I don't want to rush into anything. I want to give you enough time to show me all the things that I need to know about you before I rush in.
Yes.
And that's the approach that you're taking with a partnership. Well, a lot of people do, right? A lot of people get approached by somebody and they love that somebody sees them in a brand, and they just rush in and they say, yes, Dubai wants us. We're going to Dubai, or we're going to China, or whatever it is. And you're saying, take your time.
Like me too, when I went to Dubai, I'm like, Dubai, it's amazing, and I still think it's a great space, and I still think if we find the right partner, I will go there tomorrow in a heartbeat,
Right.
But the partner is the most important. Who's willing to go with you and hold your hand and go through the shit time is the right partner. And that only happens through experience. You can't kick it from looking at them, And, another advice you gave me as well is, a lot of the way China work is they build really quickly, and contract is always slower than the build. Okay. So making decision, it's faster than getting the contract ready, So, and when you go there, as long as they align their vision, like our vision over there is not more than 5 stores. You don't need more than 5 stores. You just need to have 5 stores, do a great job, and be part of festival. That's it. Just go to festival. It's the best way to acquire a customer, and just go online. Your job is to make sure the cloud is working. You're building an amazing platform for them to buy you anywhere in China. And the best way to do it is through festival, couple of flagships, and that's it. And people who understand this and agree with you, they are the right partners, because then you're aligned with them.
I feel like we're entering an era in our industry, and we're seeing this in the mastermind groups that Mapper Forward have going at the moment, everyone in the 2 mastermind groups that we have are values-driven business owners. And one of the things that keeps coming up is that they want to focus on understanding when enough is. People are shifting the kind of business consciousness from, I'm going to build until I'm as big as China, to I want to build so I reach the threshold of what is enough for me, and then I'm just going to maintain until I know it's time to build again. And maybe that building again is not going to happen. I don't want to grow. But people have, we've shifted from the hustle to I'm going to build it to 5 stores and an online presence and go to festivals, and that's going to be enough because it's going to be an extraordinary endeavor to get to that size.
Yes.
And that's the new approach, right?
Exactly. And once you achieve it, if you want to grow, then you make a decision later. But don't ever think you need anything that is a human-related activity, or try to reduce it.
So that's another due diligence thing, right? What about staff? How do you approach? Because people in Sydney, although pretty much everyone that works for you is from one Asian country or another, right? You are very clicked in with different Asian cultures, and the Australian coffee industry really has become very heavily, populated
Asian
with people.
Influence,
it's Asian influenced, right? Which is very different than when we started in the coffee industry. So did that help you in your due diligence when you're going over there? You had an understanding?
100%. I mean, the good news is, Sydney is a very, metropolitan city with so much diversity in it. So it was easy to kind of see the people reaction and hear about the brand. You can see, and again, QVB played an amazing part because it's very touristic. So you can see how tourists react when they see the brand. What do they buy to take home with them, So all those things, it started to kind of have a better picture about it. And because we dealt with so many, we're Asian ourselves, so we do have a very similar values connected to the whole of Asia. It was, very easy to click and to understand what's happening there.
He means Arabs, folks.
He
means us as Arabs.
Us as Arabs or Middle East of Asia. Eastern. So it's very, Middle Eastern. So it's easy for us to connect with the East and be part of the way they think and the way they value stuff. So that worked really to our benefits, obviously. Working, getting staff over there. The challenge is not finding the what do you call it? The skills. Actually, the skills is freaking amazing. Really? It's not like they don't have skills. Yeah. The skills is not the
Are they motivated to work in coffee though?
Oh yeah. Coffee is a cool thing over there.
Okay. Because you hear a lot of press that the youth in China just don't want to work.
I mean, that's in general. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
No youth.
No matter what country you're in. Shout out to Gen Z. Word.
Nobody would have freaking want to work, they think they want to work. So I just think
as a Gen X, I can tell you don't.
The reason why they don't want to work, then more about China, because factories don't have workers anymore. So it really revolutionized. Robots. I think the best experience I had there was in Beijing, because it wasn't a festival, it was more of a pop-up store, and we were there for almost 2.5 weeks, and it was a store right next to the hotel. We had a really amazing time to be behind the brew bar, behind the coffee machine.
Was it busy?
Brewing, and wasn't too bad. It wasn't crazy busy because sometimes they be like, oh shit, the timing is not right because, we just finished the Lunar New Year. People are now back to work. So really interesting. You have to get it right. But anyway, we we're talking to people in Beijingian, I don't know what we call them. But it was great because the next generation it's insane. They are traveled around the world. Like I would never thought somebody, there will be Dublin graduate, German, they
No.
went to Netherlands. You would
It's
never
like
thought.
here. It's like here, right? They all go to school
You would never-
outside.
Yeah, you have no freaking idea. Because honestly, we were living in, as they say in Arabic, in a cabbage, So when you're here, you just don't see, عايش بالخسة in Arabic, yeah, so you don't see what's happening beyond your leaves, I guess. But when you go there, I'm like, Jesus, you actually studied there, you finished this. So the beautiful thing is the next generation. And I'm saying everybody, we met the rich one. Okay. So it's not like we've met, the hard worker neighbor. So I'm not going to
it's like
talk
easy
about
tiger.
everybody. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be very fair in my feedback. But when you meet all this and you start thinking and you see this generation of like really looking after their art, looking after their the way of life, traveling for cities, they're only really good in ceramics and learning about ceramics. And it's really, it changed your mindset. You'll be like, this is the generation that is, it's going to change the way we think about them. We have no idea until you're there, and you have no idea about the food, though. The food is next level. So the challenge is the language. Wow, that is the hardest one ever. And having a translator in between, right? So a 5 minutes conversation
turns into half an hour.
They're like 45 minutes, and it's like, you have to do this one thing. Just press this button,
Training must be very difficult then.
Yeah.
And teaching people, again, we're talking about, like, if we go back to your animals, telling people about your brand and how to communicate your brand. How does that translate?
It's very hard because, and the good thing, again, you need a business partner who is willing to be there and explain to people over and over. It's a different stamina.
It's fascinating.
The stamina is not the same. You really need to be, a long runner. And you need to understand one thing as well, that when you sit down in business meeting, they don't do business with you before few things is happening, which is one, they want to see you drunk or you're drinking a lot. They really want to see you in a format that you're not in business mode. And they want to make sure they can be friends with you. They can see there is that friendship relationship. And you have to understand, sometimes there's no boundaries in the relationship with them because, you really need to understand the dynamics. Wait.
So I don't drink alcohol, right? So what happens then?
And look, it's not like they don't respect if you don't drink alcohol. It's a different story, right? If you don't drink, you don't drink. But there is other ways you need to be in the entertainment mode of, being with them. Yeah.
The fuck does that mean?
Exactly. A lot. Like stamina, man. You need stamina. You need to go there, have dinners. Some dinners are freaking massive. Some dinners are 2 hours dinners.
So I don't drink alcohol and I'm vegan. So clearly I'm fucked. Don't go to Asia.
Yeah, don't go to Asia. But again, they do respect if you don't do certain things. So it's not like they don't,
Right.
They know, like, okay, you can't eat this. It's fine. You can't eat that. But, there's other ways you can, but you need to be part of some kind of an entertainment at night. And not about dancing or doing stupid things. No, it's about, they want to make sure that they feel comfortable beyond just making business with you so they can continue the relationship or not.
Okay, great. It's not like they're trying to entrap you like at a P. Diddy party or something like that. So.
No. It's not like there's drugs and no, they're none of that. No. They're very well, they're actually quite respectful, It's changing in some countries, like, in Japan, back in the days, if you say to old school generation, hey, we're going for dinner, they can't say, no, you're the boss. So you go.
Right.
Not the newest generation. The newest generation say, nah, I've got gym tomorrow morning, or I've got something else to do. So yeah, it is shifting
evolving
with the new generation comparing to the old one. But people need to give it time. So you really need to understand the customer. You need to understand make sure your brand is ready. You need to put some effort into finding the right IP lawyer who can help you to do this with, I think this is the next episode. And you need to be open-minded. That's it. I've never done karaoke in my whole life, and
bro, I'd fucking pay massive amounts of money to come and watch you do karaoke.
You're like, oh yeah, shit, fuck it.
I've traveled with you loads, and I've never seen you do karaoke, but fuck, I would pay.
Yeah, exactly. But it's part of the whole process. Once you understand it, like, is it part of the process? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Let's do it.
The next time you're in Dubai, we're going to go and find a karaoke bar. And
yeah, bro, 100%. That's really hilarious. And, it gives you that really different perspective. You started to learn different way of thinking. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, nice.
And I'll be honest, like, I would not think signature drink, that is the future.
Bro, your cafe is the one that told me. Like, being at your cafe and having the yuzu cold brew and the watermelon cold brew, I tasted those and I'm like, this is the fucking future of coffee. Signature drinks is going to be the future. And we're going to talk about that kind of stuff in the next episode, specifically the hidden costs of expanding across borders, because you having to think outside of the box is a part of the hidden costs of doing business. And remember, like, when we talk about hidden costs, we're just talking financial. So join us for that. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward.